Welcome, everyone, to the Pack. Very exciting, very special episode going into the playoffs here, and joined by our guest, Eric Hubbs from Barstool, co-editor-in-chief over at Barstool. We really appreciate you taking the time, Eric. Obviously, this episode could have been a lot darker if things did not go well Sunday, but here we are, a lot, cheerier kind of episode. So, how you doing? How have the last couple of weeks been as a sports fan and as a Packer fan?
Yeah, I'm happy my debut on the pod isn't in memoriam of the season. It's hey, we got a game on Sunday, let's go. Crazy. The last few weeks, we were talking just before we went live, like, man, so many ups and downs of the year. And honestly, I said this a lot of time in the blogs, like, my goal for this year was just one thing. Jordan Love, tell me what to do. Yeah. Either be horrible, like give me a Zach Wilson year where you have more interceptions than touchdowns and you just look all out of sorts, or have 36 total touchdowns, over 4,000 yards, lead the team in the playoffs. Don't be in the middle. Don't make it like a controversy where, like, First Take is talking about it every single day. What should the Packers do? What should Goody do? Should they sign him? What do they do? It's now just clear. Like, he made it very – listen, it was rocky to start. He had the youngest team around him in all of football to work with. They didn't really do him any favors. He's without his all-pro left tackle. He was really handed a short stick and like, hey, have at it. Here's the keys to the car. Like, go nuts. And to start, it was rocky. But, man, that second half of the year, find me a quarterback that played better than him in the second half. There's no one. He was the best quarterback in football in the second half of the season. He looks all apart. He's very comfortable out there. I'm excited, man. We're playing with house money. Like, it was nice to not lose the win and in game like they did against Detroit. It had all the makings of a mirror game, right? Like the last year, obviously the Lions kind of a year ahead, it seemed like, and possibly can get in, and then they find out obviously right before game time that it's not in the cards. They can't get in. They can just play spoiler. And the Bears obviously couldn't get in, but they were playing a lot better football, and their defense was flying. Getting sweat at the deadline really like transformed that whole team. So playing spoiler type of role and, a dangerous team. And, Fields has never really gone off against us, but it's a ticking time. I'm like, at some point, you just got to do it, right? Didn't happen. Maybe never will happen, but it's a dangerous game to play. So the fact that they didn't lose it this year and they're in is awesome. It's exciting. We'll see what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you hit it on the head. Like, Jordan Love, there's just there's no way around it. Like you said, I don't think you can find a quarterback who played as well as him, as consistently well throughout week after week over the second half of the season, and to lead a team where, I mean, for most of that, burst where he played, there was no Christian Watson, there was no Luke Musgrave, like you said, no David Bakhtiari. Aaron Jones missed chunks of the year. Romeo Doubs, this past Sunday, Doubs was gone after the first drive. No Watson. Musgrave barely played. So he's just doing it with, we know obviously first and second year guys, but it's not even their top first and second year guys. It's Wicks, it's Bo Melton. Bo Melton, like, it's exciting to think that guys like Melton and Malik Heath are like the fifth and sixth kind of receivers on this team right now, which, that's just incredible depth. And you got to give Goody a ton of credit for the way he's built this team. Like, I criticize him a lot, but what he's done with this offense and this team is incredible.
He's hit on everything. Like, there's nothing. He's even hitting on Carl Brooks. Like, come on. Like, so, yeah, like the Bo Meltons, Wicks has come on, and like, it feels like Wicks is a guy that Rodgers really could have used in his later years in Green Bay. Like, that guy just finds a way to get open. He's fun. He's athletic. Like, I'm all about Wicks. And using the second year guys like Heath, like you mentioned, is something Rodgers would do. I don't want to say Rodgers' name so many times here because it's Jordan Love's show now. I want to separate the two. But, man, like, the way Rodgers would, in his MVP form, would, they wouldn't surround him with guys. He'd have to make them good. And then they'd go other teams and be terrible. But it's just, that's how good he was. He can make everyone around him great. That's kind of what Love has done this year. And it's very impressive. I still think moving forward, a longer question, I think they need a true one. I don't know if a Reed can be there. I have no faith in Watson ever being consistent enough to be that guy. But if they they have so many 2s and 3s. That's not a bad thing right now. Like, it's working. Like, Jaden Reed flying around the football Bo Melton, Wicks, like it's fun. Like, and then, you get Musgrave more online here to pair with Kraft, and that's a really fun 2 tight end set. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here. And yeah, Goody, man, did I hate that trade up to get Love when it first happened. And I hated it for years to come. And after Rodgers went back-to-back MVP, I said trade Jordan Love, because why else is he here if we're just going to stick with Rodgers?
Yeah.
Listen, there's a reason I'm not a GM. It worked out. They just, what? I get why you don't take receivers in the first round, because you can find Jaden Reeds later on.
Yeah.
You can find these guys, Dobbs. They trust themselves to find these guys in the second, third round, and later on, even Bo Melton off of, as a free agent or whatever, and, Tucker Kraft. And so you trust them. And now you trust them that they can just figure out the quarterback situation. They've done it now again. They truly did it again. You see it all over Twitter, but like they did. Like he is every much the part. Like there's so many all my friends, are Jets, Giants fans, and they have no idea who their quarterback is. And it's just fun to like, oh, I know who mine is for the next 15 years. It's Jordan Love.
Yeah, there's no doubts over here. It is great. I mean, being in Chicago, seeing what, like you said, I mean, all my friends and anyone around me, what they go through on a year-to-year basis, like to not have that it's pretty special. And to, once again, I mean, like people want to almost make it like it's lucky, but I think like third time is when it's no longer lucky. Like if you're a franchise that goes and continuously does this, it's going to, potentially go on, almost 40 years. Like it's just, that's no luck. That's just an organization that knows what they're doing, and other teams simply don't. So
yeah, I mean, the question now becomes, what are you giving him as an extension? That's a fun question to have, though, because I didn't know if we were going to have that question. They guaranteed next year, obviously, before the year, and that's great. But like now, it's like, all right, lock him up, no problem. I'd give him a Mahomes extension like that. That's where I'm just like, nope, keep him here for as long as we can. That's my guy. Build around him. Let's go.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think obviously this offseason they get something done. No way you go into next year without something done. And he has shown enough, regardless of how it goes on Sunday. He is the guy. He is their future. And they got to, don't mess around, pay him and get it done. But it is pretty great knowing that how young his skill group around him is, that you could really pay him and you're still going to have a ton of talent around him, and they're just going to get better and better. So it's really exciting to think about how much, like we talked about, this offense growing together year one. Like you said, it was kind of all about Love, this offense growing, forget the playoffs. But now we've seen the growth and we've seen the playoffs. It's been pretty much as good of a year as Packer fans could have hoped for, even with being at 2-5 at one point and looking really, really bad. They turned it around. Then you got to give Lambeau a ton of credit. Another guy I have criticized plenty in the past. Matt LaFleur, his play calling has just been, it seems so spot on. It feels like him and Love are just so in line with what each other want to do. And it's just like they just drives. Like maybe it stalls a bit in the red zone. Maybe we have an Andres Carlson miss, which we'll have to get to, or, a bit like the fumble, a bit of a blunder, but we're not seeing 3 and outs and like stagnant offense for a full quarter or a full half like we were seeing 2 months ago. So,
oh yeah, I mean, dude, they went 4 games in a row where the first half they scored like 3 points. Like if they got a field in the first half, it'd be like, all right, cool. All right. And then we're going to start calling plays the second half, right, Matt?
Yeah.
It felt like since the Thanksgiving game, the first play of the Thanksgiving game, right? The bomb, everything changed right there. Mm-hmm. That was almost a moment, they had come off the win against the Chargers, but and Love looked good. He surpassed 300 yards, all that, but it's the Chargers, right? Like anyone could throw in the Chargers with that defense assemble. They were just a mess. So it's like, how much do you take out of that, right? And before that, it's the Pittsburgh game where he threw, he made a few bad plays, and they just nothing was sinking until there, and the play calling wasn't there either. And maybe in part that had to do with not trusting the offensive weapons around him because they're so young. But man, once that, and maybe it was the break that they had before the Thanksgiving games. They had about actually that was a short week. Now I think about
it. Short week.
Yeah. But whatever it was, whatever conversations they had, it all clicked in that Thanksgiving game. And from then on, it felt like the offense just totally went to a new level. The play calling completely unlocked, and they just let him do whatever. And they were just like, oh, what the hell? Like, sure. Like, we got to figure it out somehow, one way or the other. So let's do it. And it worked out. And I was on LaFleur for sure. The start, it almost felt like he was coaching scared. especially like, as I said, in first half of games, it was infuriating to watch, and the play calls were stagnant and boring and not creative. And then all of a sudden, shit changed, and I'm liking it a lot. I'm very much a fan of what LaFleur's done here. Now we'll see what happens, against the Cowboys. But again, it's house money. They were in a rebuilding year and they made the playoffs. That's a win already. We'll see what happens from then on. I've been critical of how LaFleur has handled playoff games in the past, as I assume many people have been. But he's certainly earned himself like a little bit of a reprieve here with how he's done.
Yeah,
second half.
100%. It's been great
also
to see.
Not to interrupt you, but it also feels like they're like, and maybe I'm a sucker just for all, every time they tweet out like the post game, speech or whatever, everybody feels like all the guys want to, like, I don't know, maybe removing the elephant from the room, the big L, and like, everyone just gels together, wants to play for each other. Aaron Jones, calling out that Bears guy on Twitter after the game.
Awesome.
It feels like they're way more of a team this year than they were last year.
Yeah, 100%. And you're seeing whether it was Jones or then you had Preston tweeting about it. We have these weekly Tucker Kraft tweets that are just getting better and better as the weeks go on. I mean, Tucker Kraft is like, we're excited about Luke Musgrave. And then you have Tucker Kraft, who's been just as exciting and seems to have that, psycho animal inside of him that you love to see from your tight ends. So even if they don't go and, let's say, go and get that number one, like you mentioned before, if they wanted to base this offense around 2 tight end sets, play action, going over that could work so well. If you take this whole offseason and you're making Kraft and Musgrave almost like the focal point, and then you have all these receivers who are obviously going to add to that, like the possibilities for what LaFleur can do with this offense are endless, honestly.
Yeah, it could be very unique. It could be Stanford-esque, right, with Luck, where they just love to run those 2 tight end sets and just dominate teams. Like that was it. So, yeah, something like that. I agree. I would still love a 1, as I've been chasing, ever since Devontae left. We love a 1, but and Mike Evans certainly could be available, possibly. But no, you're not wrong. Like, there's so much talent here, and the way it really comes back to them protecting him. And that is the key to his success is protection. Like the play action stuff, when he has so much time to throw and he can pick you apart with the different types of level of throw he can make. You give him that time, and so much credit to the line protecting him. Like that was so massive this year.
Yeah, Rasheed Walker, 7th round pick, stepping up in a huge way after some struggles early on, has really stepped up and has basically become a pretty reliable left tackle. Of course, you have Zach Tom on the other side, who
huge, loves Zach Tom.
Yeah, I feel like when we drafted him, like he was someone I was high on. I just felt like we basically just got another Elton Jenkins, like versatile, really solid, reliable guy. And obviously, you got Elton, Josh Myers. I feel like is having definitely a better year than the last couple of years. Maybe not, may not be changing the world, but he's not actively being a real problem.
Right.
And just overall, like you said, you give Love time, you open up holes for Aaron Jones. The last 3 weeks, like Aaron Jones. Could you just imagine if he was a guy who could just stay healthy? Like this team,
he shoots out of a cannon.
Yeah,
like it's really like when the way he's feeling right now, health wise. And the way they're blocking and open up holes, like it's 5 yards a carry with him, and it's everything. And he is, we talked ad nauseum so far. They don't have a 1, but he's the offensive weapon. Like he's the fucking guy. Like he's going. There is such a difference to this team when he's going, and he's going right now, and I'm loving every part of it. Like when they ruled, Watson was the random late scratch because he was practicing all week. And then, but when they ruled Watson out and Dillon, I didn't bat an eye. I was like, all right, we're fully healthy. Like, this is it. This is those guys are so relevant to me, like in terms of like who's impacting right now. So I don't mind them sitting. They're almost in the way.
Yeah. Look, I was about to say, like, I don't want to be like, I know everyone loves AJ Dillon, and as a person, at least, maybe not so much with that. Like he has stepped up. Like the way the season started, it was like, we can't even have this guy in the field right now. It's been better. But I'm not going to lie. Like, I was almost a little bit excited to think, well, this is going to be Aaron Jones all game long. Like, yes, we'll see a few snaps for Patrick Taylor, but that's what we got. We got Aaron Jones. And when he is going, it's not just that they just don't lose. Plain and simple. Like, Aaron Jones gets 15-plus touches, has a game. The Packers do not lose, no matter who's their quarterback, who they're playing. So, like, this Sunday, just do the same thing. 20 carries, give him the ball, try to throw the ball to him, but again, Aaron Jones healthy, like you said, he's their one, and with him alone, like they can really compete with anyone, and that includes Dallas. So looking at that game, obviously, I mean, I feel like the first storyline, Packers, Mike McCarthy. Of course, they played last year. Aaron Rodgers coming back in overtime, beating Mike McCarthy. I think that was after, what, a 4-game losing streak. So it was kind of a huge moment in the Packers season last year. Kind of was a bit of a turnaround. And now going to Dallas, of course, they never lost since they built AT&T Stadium.
It's an insane stat.
Yeah, it's been 14 years, and they just continue to win in Dallas. So, like, between it was Detroit or Dallas, and that Rams-Niner game was real close. Like, I didn't have a major preference. Like, I guess in my head, it was like, yeah, Detroit would probably be easier. But I don't know, there's something about going to Dallas that just feels comfortable for this team. Like,
yeah.
am I crazy? Or what were you hoping
I mean, dude, there's a lot of similarities between Detroit and, that, like, you're not getting away without a massive pass rusher in your face with, whether it's Parsons or Hutchinson, those guys are game wreckers. So, like, you're not getting a reprieve there. Dak is better than Goff, but in the playoffs, is he? Like, I don't know. I love playoff Dak. Like, all right, come on down. Now, the thing is that really scares me here, and it's, the one guy we haven't talked about on the staff, it's Joe Barry. And, hey, they got through the last 2 weeks by facing, Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, and Justin Fields.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is not that. Now, getting Jair back online with the way he looked on Sunday, much more the part than we've grown accustomed to this year, which has been very frustrating. And maybe the suspension, I said this in the blog, was the best for him. Like, I think it kind of zapped him like, all right, I got a little too crazy here. Now, maybe he's still crazy because, the whole thing with ambushing the reporter, he's out of his mind. But, like, hey, rein in a little bit here, zero in. So, hey, here's CeeDee Lamb, pal. Go shut him down. So, but the thing is, though, they have so much firepower. If it's not going to be CeeDee Lamb, there's Brandon Cooks, there's Ferguson, and obviously the running back threat they've got going. It's going to be a tall task, and it's understandable. But, man, the one team you really don't want to play in the playoffs is a team that's young like the Packers and that they're just playing with house money. Like, getting to the play – and it's shitty to say, like, getting to the playoffs was good enough because that never should be good enough. Yeah. But, like, with this team and the expectations, like, this is complete – like, no one's going to be upset unless, obviously, it's, a disaster play call by LaFleur that ends it or, something heartbreaking. But, like, for the most part, like, I'm pretty content with whatever happens on Sunday. And that's a terrifying team to play, man. And a team that's very confident right now. And I believe that locker room right now believes they can beat anyone. And that's not something that feels like the team that Dallas always loses to.
Yeah, that is 100% true. And also, I feel like it's been at least a decade, if not more, probably more, since we've had this feeling where it's like we are the underdog, where it's not all the pressure's on us, where it's if we lose this game, we suck. Aaron Rodgers did something, or or special teams, but it's like we're going in, like you said, it's all the pressure's on Dallas. They're, the number 2 seed. They're the high-flying, Super Bowl hopefuls, and we just kind of squeak into the playoffs. But we see it every year. A team gets hot at the right time. That's really all it takes. I mean, that's what the Packers did back in 2010. And I'm not sitting here saying, expect a Super Bowl, but, this is, like you said, a team that you don't want to – a playoff team doesn't want to face this kind of team where it's playing its best ball right now. Its youngest players coming together. They're getting healthier. I mean, there's at least a chance we see Watson, Musgrave at full strength. Obviously, Aaron Jones has been back. A.J. Dillon could be back. Whether that's good or bad, we'll find out. But they could really be at full strength. And I do like that you brought up Jair, CeeDee Lamb. I feel like that's probably going to be the biggest matchup that people talk about. And I think Jair followed DJ Moore a decent amount on Sunday, and I really hope that continues against Lamb.
He always asks for that. Like, the Justin Jefferson matchups, he begs for it. I need him to beg for it and just give it to him, please. Yeah, because
you made him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history for this reason. You go and every single play. Like, there are guys like whether it's Sauce Gardner, remember like Richard Sherman. Like, sure, you could be a great corner, but if you just play on one side and you never travel, to me, it's kind of like, okay, as an offense, I'll just put my best receiver on the other side and every play. So very good. Like, and you just dedicate your wide receiver 3 to Sauce Gardner, and then Sauce Gardner has great stats because they're not throwing the ball at him. So Jair got to travel with CeeDee Lamb. And yeah, this could be, kind of like the biggest kind of matchup of Jair's career. Like if he can go, yes, there's other weapons, but if you find a way to limit CeeDee Lamb, which is very difficult, as we've seen the last 10 plus weeks, it could go a long way in deciding that game. So I'm excited to see that. I am obviously, like you mentioned, Joe Barry. I don't want to get into it because here we are. We're in the playoffs.
We're positive right now. We're trying to be positive.
We are positive.
Man, it's not. He's still here.
He is still here. As hard to believe as that is. So I'm just wondering, have you done any looking ahead or thoughts on candidates that not all everyone wants to talk about Al Harris but have you thought about maybe any candidates that you see as a realistic option?
Mike Vrabel.
Oh yeah, Mike Vrabel. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, that would be exciting.
That'd be cool. No, to be honest, I haven't looked that far ahead. Al Harris, his name has been thrown out there. Honestly, anyone else. That's really what I'm at. I'm just so tired of just 3rd and 15. Let's play back. Oh, we played too far back. Oh, and it's a 30-yard catch. It's just so bad. It's so frustrating. And, I like to say that things are changing a little bit, but like I said, we didn't play the hardest offenses here. And, we're not very far removed from Carolina putting up 30 against Green Bay.
And then scoring 0 the next 2 weeks. I mean, that is if you can't see how clearly bad things are and were, but still are, they didn't score a point. No team, it's so rare you see a team get shut out really at all, but it's 2 weeks in a row is crazy.
They were so bad that people were don't even play Young the final week. It'll just hurt him more. That's how bad they're at. And they did play him and they didn't score. But
points. So
and then the team that they barely beat was the Bucks, or that barely lost to was the Bucks, who completely lit up Green Bay earlier in the year. So, it just if it really turned into a season, and then all the negatives, and there were a lot of negatives for what was, hey, you want your career, you want your season high? Come on, play the Packers. And it was jarring. Tommy DeVito was should have been the final straw. Because that guy just didn't play after that. Yeah, they were just we can't do this anymore.
I mean, the fact that we're not telling an exaggeration that they for 3 straight weeks gave guys the best performance of their career and not even close. And not just of their career, made them look like Pro Bowl level kind of quarterbacks. Just a joke.
And that is why I pray the Bears decide to keep Fields and choose him as their guy.
Yes,
that would be lovely.
I keep going back and forth on it, but bottom line is I think we're deep enough into Fields' career where if it was going to happen, it would have happened. Yes, he did show some more flashes towards the end of the season.
It's only because I think maybe Bukowski said it on Twitter, but we only think these flashes have been positive because the other side was such a rock bottom that it couldn't get worse. That being said, I really hope they give him the Daniel Jones extension and we see him for a while. I don't care who you surround him with. I'm never threatened by that guy. Truly, I feel like if the Bears were gonna finally win against LaFleur, it was gonna happen on Sunday. And it really the score really didn't do its justice.
No,
that game was not close. There was a complete difference in talent and execution.
It should have been 30 plus to 9. It should have been.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure we'll get into it now. Special teams was the reason that wasn't close. I mean, that was close.
There we go. I mean, I was gonna bring it up. I don't know. I mean, Andres Carlson, is this stubborn? We drafted him. Is this Bisaccia? I coached his brother. He's gonna end up being good. 8 of 10. I mean, 8 of 10 games to miss an extra point or a field goal is unheard of. I mean, imagine you have one job and 80% of the time you're missing. I mean, okay, not 80% of the time, but in 80% of his last 10 games, he has missed a kick. That is an astronomically high number, at least in my opinion. So it's I don't know. I mean, do they what I know how they are. Let's be real. They're going to stick with him no matter what happens. And it's just it's frustrating because it's not that I want to see him fail, but it's you can't just be a team that's oh, it's going to work itself out. Just don't worry.
The quotes around him are crazy. The backing up of him, it's oh, he's missed a lot of extra points, but the field goals have been going in. Yeah. What? What does that mean? What the fuck are you talking about? And then
that's half the job.
Yeah, and those are important. That's how you lose football games is missing extra points. So and nothing was more clear than the end of the first half against the Bears, where they're trying to get 5 more yards to feel a little bit
Yeah.
more comfortable from a range that should be your eyes are closed and you're banging home
Yeah.
field goals. But that's how little confidence they have in Carlson deep down. They won't say it publicly, but there's no way they have it. And obviously he had missed a kick before, so he's a disaster, man. There's nothing worse than going to the playoffs with a kicker who has zero confidence. And he's young. Like those are two just bad situations, and you're combining them together. No bueno. Like you said, though, you touched on it. Maybe they're just hoping it happen. Brother Dan, same kind of situation, all right, was brutal start. Now he's one of the best kickers in the whole game. I guess they're hoping that. But man, I wouldn't hate to, his season's over, and I can't believe he was even. I thought my friends were screwing with me. They're Giants fans. Sometimes they'll just say a person's name that kind of looks like someone, or he's old.
Yeah.
So I thought they were like, oh, Mason Crosby's out there. I'm like, oh, it's Mason. Who is this guy? Oh my God, it's Mason Crosby. He's kicking for the Giants. All right, bring him in. Just 40-yard field goals.
Honestly, fine. Maybe you're going to be a bit nervous over 50, but under 50, you're basically locking in. You're hitting this kick. And
it's college, man. That's what college football teams do. Is they worry about 40-yard field goals. Yeah, that's what happens in college.
It's pathetic. You have this guy. Also, it's a dome game. It's not like you're going to be out in the elements and maybe Mason's leg. Like you're in a dome. He's obviously hit probably the biggest kick of his career in that stadium already. Like, let's be real again. There's no way in the world they're going to do it, because then they might as well cut Carlson, because that's like saying, we don't trust you. You're done. So that's not going to happen. But I will say, if he in any way somehow costs them this game, Packers Twitter will burn to the ground, because it's not like it's been a little bit of a bad stretch, but it's mostly been good. It's just been consistently week after week, missed field goal, missed extra point, missed field goal. So it's like the whole year. And it's like, and the fact that the whole training camp, they never brought in a single kicker, no matter how bad he was doing. It was almost like crazy. Like every other position, they brought competition in, no matter who was already there. And then at kicker with a rookie, like, no, doesn't matter. You can miss 7 out of 10 field goals of practice. We're not even going to think about bringing someone in. A little bit strange, in my opinion.
Especially because, it's not like they're the Patriots and they used the 4th-round pick on their kicker. It's a 6th-round pick. We could
out of 13. I thought we drafted 13 guys this year. Like, okay, your 6th-round pick kicker didn't work out. No one's going to be like, Goody, you suck at your job. Okay, you took
one person would notice that. No one.
Literally.
And the crazy thing is, when you match up offense, defense, every position with Dallas, a team that won the NFC East and had Dak, looking the best probably his whole career. The biggest mismatch is kicker, because they have the best kicker and we have Anders. Their kicker missed anything. He is automatic. And then we have Carl. Of all the positions everywhere, even Rashawn Gary and Parsons are way closer to each other than. It's just, CeeDee Lamb and Jaden Reed are closer to each other than the kicker situation we have. That's where I really this is a tight game. That is not a good thing.
No. And I mean, Aubrey, he's a rookie, at least in the NFL. I think he was in the CFL, but they could have just taken him the same way they took Carlson. They could have had Aubrey right now, but obviously that is not the case. It's just, it is. It's like you said. It's nerve-wracking to think going into the playoffs. We've never had this. We've always had Mason, and sure, he's had his struggles, but we weren't really too nervous. If it came down to a game winner, we were pretty confident he's going to hit it 9 times out of 10. Now,
what I wonder, what I actually think it is now. Now I'm trying to, figure out a spin zone. I feel like they felt no chance in the front office that they were going to make the playoffs. And they're like, it doesn't matter if our kicker stinks. Listen, Love is playing well. That's all we care. Oh my God, we're in the playoffs, and Andrew Carlson's our kicker. That's now what's just happening.
Yeah, life comes at you fast. It was one of those kind of moments. But all right, like you said, we're in the playoffs, and I agree. Even though it's not the best mindset to feel like, as long as we made it, but this wasn't a team going into the year with any kind of Super Bowl hopes, barely even any kind of playoff hopes. So I'm just happy they're here. Hopefully Sunday, at the very least, they don't embarrass themselves, which I don't expect to happen. They're playing way too well right now for that to go down. But Eric, before we head out, it's always fun to look ahead at that game and throw out a bit of a score prediction. Now we don't, you can go Cowboys, you can go Packers. There's no judgment here. We like to go, whatever you feel. But obviously, if you pick the Cowboys, everyone will hate you. So
No, no, of course not. I'm gonna go Packers 31, Cowboys 27. That score feels right to see on the TV in the bottom ticker. Feels like the Packers nudge it out. Dak has a final drive, try and win it, and Dak just shits himself, like just
yeah,
in classic Dak fashion. Let's go that way. And I think the way that score happens is very simple: protect Jordan Love,
yeah,
minimize Parsons, have a good game plan on how to stop him. And I think if you give that guy time in a dome, especially, there's something about Green Bay playing in a dome. And it's Rodgers. Rodgers had that immaculate record, obviously, and
yeah.
his touchdown numbers were insane in domes. And I'll see the same thing here. But there's something about seeing that Packers green in a dome in Dallas that just gives me a little bit of confidence. Even if we're a 7.5-point dog and things don't look great here, and they got CeeDee Lamb, give me 31-27 Packers.
Nice. I like that score. And I'm going to, just because he's been so talked about this episode, I'm going to say Anders Carlson lines up for a game winner at 27-24 Packers. But it'll be nice in the 30-yard range. We'll make sure it's a good shot for him. They're not going to put him in any, serious position of kicking field goals. But, yeah, I'm really excited for how this game can go. I think this offense is playing the best it has all year, obviously. And anything can happen. It's playoff football. There's always a chance for the Packers. So it's really exciting to see. And once again, Eric, thank you. Before we head out, just, let everyone know where they could find you, all your work, what you're working on now, stuff you have coming up, anything like that.
Yeah, pleasure having me. Pleasure being on the show. You can find me on Twitter, Barstool Hubs, me rambling about Packer stuff. You're going to see some Yankee stuff, though, if you stick around and follow. So prepare yourself for that. Maybe mute me or something and during baseball season. I won't be offended. And then, I blog on barstoolsports.com where, after every game, you'll see me write some stuff and react and all that. But, listen, let's keep it close. Let's have some fun, house money, and Jordan Love's our guy. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, as good of a season, once again, as we could have hoped for, with no uncertainty at the quarterback position, which many, many teams cannot say. So that is as good as you can hope for. But everyone, thank you for coming in. As you see at the bottom of the screen, give the show a follow on Twitter at @the_Pack_show, and you can find me at @BookofEli_NFL. Everyone, we will see you next week, hopefully previewing another Packer playoff game. It will be very exciting. Until then, though, go Pack, go. We'll see you next time.